Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to Trackstars Formula 3 for round 2 here at the wonderful Watkins Glen, the first of its kind here in Trackstars Racing Series for our Formula Series, where we'll be bringing you the Red Bull Juniors Formula 3 category, as well as the main event of the Formula Trackstars, the first round of the Formula Trackstars season as we get underway with qualifying in Formula 3. Joining me in the commentary box this evening is our wonderful series admin of Trackstars Racing Series, and also your four-time Trackstars Touring Cars champion. It's our fellow commentator and our friend here at Trackstars. It is Mr. Jarmandel. It's racing. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Spud. It's great to have you here. We're really looking forward to a good night of racing here at Watkins Glen. It should be a very interesting race, I reckon, with some long straights here, so that might keep a bunch of cars in together and maybe might create a few slipstream battles along the way.
We're expecting to see a lot of close racing here at Watkins Glen. 11 corners for drivers to negotiate, unless you count the bus stop as a sequence of corners as well. Officially it says 11 corners, but I think unofficially it's 15 corners if you read it onto the track map. But as qualifying is underway, we have ourselves a brand new champion. The first championship leader in our Formula 3 series goes to Kuman for Intercontinental Esports in car number 90. He's doing himself a really good job there. Won the feature race last time out. Unfortunately for the driver, that was Mark Dargan. Unfortunately for him, he spun himself out with only 4 laps to go, going through 10A and 10B at Road Atlanta, and it cost him not just one position and not the lead of the race. It cost him another 3 more positions, and he ended up finishing P4. And unfortunately for him, he finished P2 overall. So Kuman took the championship lead away from Dargan. It's only a mere 10 points, but right behind as well is Robinson for RoboSport Racing, the team boss of RoboSport Racing, putting on a clinic, getting back-to-back podiums as well. So it's great to see Robbo enjoying himself in cars that are very competitive and doesn't require too much tuning for our drivers, as it is a development series. But we have some top quality drivers here that we could definitely slot into main series or Division 2.
Yeah, definitely. Quite a few that certainly wouldn't be out of place in Division 2. So the likes of Griffin, of course Robinson as well. Dargan also very quick in the Formula 2 car himself, but obviously stepping it back down a little bit, maybe trying to make sure he enjoys himself as well. It gets ultra competitive in that F2 series. And I know Robinson, definitely was looking to take a bit of a step back and really get back to enjoying racing and maybe getting some good results on the board to spring him back up in the F2.
He got plenty of back-to-back podiums in the Formula 2 season last time out in 2022. His closest was almost getting a victory at Nürburgring, but unfortunately with about 3 laps to go, he spun himself out through the chicane in the last sector, and unfortunately that cost him the chance of getting his first victory in the Trackstars Formula 2. But he's got his first victory in the sprint race, but can Dargan get himself a victory in the feature race as well as the sprint race, as he goes fastest with a 1 minute 47.7, and Robinson right there slotting into second place, Griffin in third, Hedges in fourth. Actually, he goes down to fifth as James demotes him down to fifth place. We see a little bit of lag here coming from Purton. He did suffer a little bit of lag last time out at Road Atlanta, so hopefully he fixes his up. His net is up. I know he's getting a few little troubles over the ditch in New Zealand, but sitting into P5 already, just ahead of his teammate. And then we have Kuman, the championship leader, in 8th place, as we see Tahaji in 7th place, taking over his spot in the very lovely looking Alfa Romeo Red Bull Junior that he's got on his car. And then we have Carter, the man that was the standout last time out. Unfortunately, got caught up in a lot of incidents at Road Atlanta. He's down into P9 as we are missing one driver here. That is Liam from It's Racing Esports. But so far, everything's all settling in for our drivers this evening.
Yeah, very fast lap time there from Dargan to start off qualifying. I did a few laps myself in practice and just to sort of get a bit of a feel for how the cars handle and what sort of times to expect. And I only could I could only manage a 148 myself, so getting into the 47s is definitely a very good effort there from Dargan.
Absolutely, and we know Dargan to be a very good Formula driver, as you mentioned. In any car that has an open wheeler, you put Dargan in behind the wheel and he'll make that thing fly no matter what. So he's enjoying himself, he's having a good time, giving a few other drivers some competition just to say, well, I can try and pick up my pace a little bit. As we see Griffin coming across the line, he might improve, he does. Only just 3/10, or nearly 3/10 behind Dargan in first place there. Robinson doesn't improve. James coming through on the pit straight here. Doesn't look like he's going to get into the 47s. Might be an improvement, it is, but not enough. Then we have Hedges and Burton still keep occupying 5th and 6th as we see Tahaji actually improve his sector time by over 9 seconds. So he didn't have a great clean run on his first opening lap. But here is Burton on the back straight. As we see now, Carter actually going ahead. So now we're seeing the drivers getting into the low 47s now. So you said you were struggling to get a 48, Jarman. Carter's here to make a surprise for all of us. And he's so far got 6/10 clear over Dargan in second place. As we see Dargan as well.
Lap.
Actually, sorry, we'll say that Donnelly, yeah. So Dargan's got a 1 second penalty there. He definitely would have picked that up going through the bus stop there. So that's ruined his lap. He's only going to have probably another 2 more laps before he decides to get any more hot laps in. But just over 6/10 clear is Carter over Dargan, and Griffin is still right behind, 3/10 behind. So it's quite a long lap here as well, Jarman. We can see in the Formula cars, in the SF19s, the Dallara SF19s, that we are seeing these cars exceeding speeds of 1 minute 20s, 1 minute 22s, and while we have the division 3 in the 147s, nearly 146s. So there's a huge disparity between competitions.
Yeah, obviously these cars are a little bit less power, less weight as well, so they do handle a bit better, but of course the power slows them down a fair bit, makes them manageable for those drivers joining in with the series, so they can sort of keep everything under control and sort of learn their racecraft a bit as they get started.
So everyone's very well spread out here, so I'm very surprised that we're not seeing too much slipstream going on with our drivers this evening. You expect to gather a lot of speed through that slipstream, being a very high downforce car, but not so much drag here. So the slipstreaming effect might not be strong with these cars unless you're within that. I would say you could definitely say within that 4/10, half a second region, then you might be able to pick up the slipstream. But these cars are not really strong when you are sitting behind another car to get that extra bit of pace there. But as we've seen, Kuman, the championship leader, move himself up into 5th place with a 1 minute 48.7. So he's doing a good job to be inside the top 5. He's 1.6 behind Carter, but Carter's done an excellent job with that lap time. He's only 0.1 down on that first sector. That first sector through the bus stop is very tricky, and you can make a lot of mistakes go through there. Turn in too much, you hit the arm code. Turn too late, you're on the grass and you pick up a 1 second penalty.
Yeah, just thought I'd have a quick look. Dargan a bit off the pace here on his second lap. Got Carter up ahead here. Let's see what he's doing on the sector splits.
So Griffin's just picked up a half second penalty on one of his lap times, and he just passed the pit lane, or the penalty burn zone, which unfortunately is going to ruin his lap on this next lap. So that's basically his qualifying over, as Robertson in the background has a massive tail snapper on his Red Bull Junior. He's sitting in 4th place, so that's his qualifying over done and dusted. So he was going to be settling in for 4th place unless other drivers behind him improve his lap. So Robinson and both Griffin are struggling to get their cars in shape in the last part of qualifying, as we see James improve his lap time, but not gaining any positions. He's only 0.15 behind Robinson, but obviously Robinson has failed to get his lap underway at a good proper speed. So James is going to have a good opportunity to be able to get himself up the front. And as we see, Burton, he's actually come through into 5th place as well. So he's only just behind Robinson as well, and just ahead of James as well by 0.020. So Burton on a flyer as well, the Kiwi from MSR. And then we have Scully, the one that we have to keep an eye on, the championship leader, coming into Watkins Glen for round 2 of Trackstars Formula 3. Hedges has retired into the pit lane and said, that's enough for me. I'm going to just hang around here and just wait for the carnage to happen through turn 1.
Yeah, as we see, Dargan, he's not going to be featuring in the battle for pole here. He's got a penalty as well he's going to serve.
Another second penalty again. That's 2 in a row for Dargan. So yeah, that's his qualifying over, unfortunately.
And
but
I believe Griffin had one as well, didn't he? From
yes,
the last lap he had to serve, so that's going to kill his time as well, slightly.
Yeah, he did get a penalty.
Massive.
Nothing, no improvements for Griffin whatsoever. 3.7 down on his lap time. Also, Robinson was also struggling there. So the only man who could possibly get himself a good lap time would either be James, who is actually up on his time, but not by much, and Burton was down going through the boot, 0.3 down on his time. So it's all about, what about Scully and Koeman? Can he actually improve his lap time coming in through Sector 3? Does he get any improvements? No, he's only 0.2 down. So I believe that could be the end of the qualifying here, Jarman. We're not seeing too many improvements around, but we'll wait for the cars to cross the line. And we see the next driver to cross the line is going to be Koeman. Does he improve on his lap time? No, he doesn't. Ooh, not far off his lap time though. And then Burton right behind. Does he any improvements? No, he doesn't either. So that's the end of qualifying. Unless we have Chip Reese coming through onto the pit straight here. Can he improve on his lap time? Can he get ahead of Hedges in 8th place? No, he doesn't. So that's the end of qualifying there, Jarman. 9 drivers, and the pole man by a clear margin is Carter. So the man that was on form at Road Atlanta, unfortunately mistakes were due in the WTC racing driver in Carter. Hopefully we might be able to see he might be able to avenge himself with a good race and potentially a win.
Yeah, very impressive lap there from Carter. Well-deserved pole position. You could say qualifying may have been a little bit anticlimactic there. Sort of all the times were set early on in the session. You could nearly say a bit like Brazil last year in the Formula 1 series, where Magnussen took his pole time very early on and then the rain came, but there was no weather to interrupt things this time around. It was just no one really was able to improve on their times.
Absolutely. So both the drivers, Carter, Dargan and Griffin, your top 3, and then Robinson right behind in 4th place, and then Burton in 5th, and then we have James for WTC Racing in 6th place, and then we have Koeman, the championship leader for Intercontinental Esports, in 7th, Hedges in 8th, and then we have Tahaji in 9th place. So 9 drivers this evening, and we are looking to get this race underway very shortly. So who are you going to be putting your Monopoly money on, Jarman? This is the segment where DJ and I like to get ourselves, play a little bit of a bet. We don't obviously encourage betting, but if we do, we're just going to use our Monopoly money. So who are we looking to place our Monopoly money bets on to take the victory in the sprint race?
Something tells me probably Dargan would be one of the favourites. I think he's got a point to prove here, and especially will be probably fired up a little bit after a mistake in last round in the feature race. So I think he'll want to get on the front foot and maybe draw first blood here with a sprint race victory.
And it's going to be a sprint race indeed. 6 laps around this 5.4 kilometre circuit that is Watkins Glen. A very iconic track, a very famous track for the NASCAR series, as well as the Indy cars racing around this track as well as some of the endurance events that they have at this circuit as well. We see plenty of endurance racing here, GT3 championships around the track, and as well, it's a fan favourite for any platform, as we're about to get the first race of round 2 for the sprint race here for Trackstars Formula 3 Who's going to take victory? Will it be Carter? Will it be Dargan or Griffin? Or will we see a surprise? Can we see Scully from 7th be able to come through and take the victory? We shall find out very soon. But we have our grid. 9 drivers this evening for the first race of the sprint race. We have Carter, then we have Dargan. Griffin is going to be lurking in the background, waiting for these two to make a mistake as those lights are about to go green. 5 red lights. And it's lights out, green flag racing. So an even jump there. We've had a jump start there, and Hedges has gone through with incidents there. He's made contact with Robinson, and as well as Robinson, Hedges had to hit the back of him, and that unfortunately has put Chip Reese, or as we say, Tahaji, in 9th place and onto the barrier there. So Robinson, Hedges, and Tahaji struggling on the race start, but we have Dargan actually in the front now, so he's made the move over Carter. So Carter's the pole man from WTC Racing, has lost that lead to Dargan, but Dargan's going on the defensive. He's going onto the inside through to the bus stop. Carter's going to have to wait patiently. Purton gives a little bit of Carter a bit of a hit there, so there's a little bit of lag from the Kiwi in 3rd place, but he's moved himself up a few positions there. And unfortunately there, no, I thought we had a disconnect there. No, going through to the sweeping corner. Instead of going straight, we are turning left into the boot section. Dargan leads over Carter, and then Purton and James right behind his teammate in 4th place, and then we have the championship leader Kuman in 5th place. Griffin, after starting in 3rd, has dropped all the way down to 6th place, so not the start that he wanted. Robinson, after a difficult start, jumping the start in 7th place, 1.5 behind Hedges, and then we have Tahaji rounding up your 9 drivers this evening.
Yeah, great start there from Dargan, and Carter also making himself well and truly inside that battle. And then we've got that nice little battle pack of 4 there with Burton, James, Kuman and Griffin there sort of fighting it out for the final podium spot. So certainly some great battles going on here early on in this race, and should be very action packed in these remaining 5 laps that we now have coming up. As Dargan gets on the headlight flash there a bit. I don't know who he's flashing his headlights at, maybe the photographer on the corner.
Yeah, as we saw there on the exit of the boot section, we saw James make a move on Purton on the inside going into the last sector. So James up into 3rd place, and he's 1.9 behind Carter, but Carter's right behind Dargan, and so we're on lap 2 of 6. We didn't tell these guys this was a sprint race. We didn't tell these guys that they would be fighting for the front row and for the pole position for the feature race, but Dargan is going all defensive. They're about less than a 10th going into the bus stop here. Dargan still holds on ahead of Carter. Carter just going to have to play the patient game, and he's going to have to sit in behind Dargan. But Dargan's got a really nice entry and exit through the bus stop there. So Dargan's done a really good job to keep that car. He's almost 0.5 of a second over Carter, but still able to keep ahead of himself. James right behind, 2 seconds behind his teammate, and then we have Purton who dropped down, losing that position to James, and then we have Griffin who's actually made a few positions as well. So these WTC racing cars have come to play, Jarman, as we see with Carter, James and Griffin. They're both inside the top 5.
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of advantage in strength in numbers that maybe the WTC racing crew are leaning on each other, looking at each other's data and all the other notes and working out where each driver can improve and who's stronger where. Because I just noticed in the background a bit that Robinson, after that poor start, or the jump start that he had, has now managed to climb himself back into this, I'll call it 5-car battle here for 3rd place. So that being said, James has managed to get the field a bit, and he had a really good run through that bus stop on the last time by.
He really did, and James is pulling away from Purton, so Purton's now the cork in the bottle between holding up Griffin, Robinson, and even Scully's come back into the place. So Scully's dropped a few positions from 5th to 7th, just where he started at the beginning of this Grand Prix. But we have Kuman, the championship leader, in 7th place on the clutches of Robinson and Griffin to go. And as we see down the rest of the field, we have Hedges in 8th, and then we have Tahaji in 9th after that incident on the first point of contact on the start-finish straight. Unfortunately, making contact with Hedges himself, but still up ahead, just trying to gap Carter as much as he can. He's almost a second clear of Carter, so Dargan really stretching his advantage over Carter from WTC Racing, and then we have James behind. He's actually closing the gap a little bit to his teammate, just ever so slightly, and Burton is trying to stay with James as well, trying to break the toe and break the slip away from Griffin, but Griffin's coming all under pressure from Robinson. Robinson looking for an inside move on the left-hander into the boot section, and doesn't make a move there. He's going to have to sit back, but Burton Behead just made a bit of a slide there, so he's lost ground to James, but unfortunately he's actually lost time to Griffin and Robinson, and Scarlet's into the mix as well. So we're going to have a 4-car battle pack before 4th place here, with I feel like the top 3 just ever so slightly running away with this, and Dargan is now broken clear, 1.2 clear ahead of Carter in 2nd place.
Yeah, Burton just got into the wall there on the exit, heading back into the what we'll call the NASCAR section of the Watkins Glen circuit. That's really brought Griffin and Robinson back into play here. As I just was going to touch on saying that basically the likes of, well, Dargan, Carter and James are basically running away with this in the top 3, but Robinson probably might have some top 3 pace as well, but really needs to get a move on and get ahead of a bunch of these guys.
There we go. So Robinson
in the fight.
So Robinson has made a move on Griffin there going into turn 1, and we do have our late entry joining us in the field here. We have Liam from It's Racing Esports joining us before the feature race. Unfortunately, couldn't get to the track, so maybe it must have been held up in traffic here around in the Watkins Glen region, Jarman. So I don't know whether you sent your driver for some spare parts for your Formula Trackstar cars, or you made him do some sort of dirty work for It's Racing Esports. But yeah, he was running a bit late there.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe he got caught up in traffic or something.
Yeah. Did you have to fire any spare exhaust or spare wings or spare anything for your Formula cars?
No, by the sounds of things, everything's gone as expected.
There you go. Fair enough. So, Robinson's run wide, and then Griffin's started to stick his nose in right on the inside. They're going to go side by side there. So Griffin is now taken back 5th place. Contact made. I thought Griffin was just about to chop the nose off of Robinson, and Robinson was going to give him a huge contact, and it was going to be a big crash between those 2 drivers. But Griffin holds on to 5th. Robinson, unfortunately, demotes himself to 6th place after running wide there. But they won't. They're trying their best to try and catch up to Burton in 4th place, as Burton's just started to pull away from the gap, from the field, and from the drivers behind him. He's 1.1 clear of Griffin, and he's going to try and make sure he keeps that gap, because Robinson and Scarlet's also dropped off as well. And Robinson really going wide there on the final corner in turn 11, really trying to kiss the wall there on the final corner. Robinson loses a lot of time to Griffin as well. So Robinson still not having the best did not have the best lap for there, Jarman.
A few mistakes there, and that's dropped him back to 6th place. Definitely not what he wanted that time around. And he's sort of losing further touch there with the podium battle for sure.
That's right. So we look back up towards the front. Dargan leads. He's 1.5, so he's definitely built a good margin over Carter, and this is going to give him some good confidence for the feature race later on this evening, with Dargan in first. Carter is sitting nicely in 2nd place after challenging Dargan on the opening 2 laps of the Watkins Glen US Grand Prix for the sprint race here at Trackstars Racing Series. And then we have James sitting nicely in 3rd place. He's doing himself a really good job to keep that car where it needs to be. Doesn't have to battle anyone up front. He doesn't need to battle anyone at the back. So he's going to be happy to keep that car in 3rd place. Burton holding on nicely in 4th place, the same as well with James. He's holding on very nicely. He's got 2 seconds ahead, 2 seconds behind, so he's doing a good job there. I think the closest battle pack we have is between Griffin and Robinson, and now Koeman that is actually come back into the fold here. So it's going to be a 3-car battle pack on the last lap here in the sprint race between Griffin from WTC Racing, Robinson from Robo Sport, and then we have Koeman, the championship leader, going into round 2 in Koeman, 5th, 6th and 7th, and we won't know who's going to be taking those positions at the end.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to play for here in this final lap. Griffin extending his advantage here over Robinson and Koeman at the moment, so he's looking in strong form to take a top 5 result on this final lap. It's probably going to take a big effort here from either Koeman or Robinson to take 5th place away, and I just saw Hedges just a little bit in the background there. I think he's closing in on this battle as well.
He has closed, and he's actually started to put in some good lap times, some good personal lap times for him. He's got set to 1 minute 48.8 in a row, so he's closing up on his guys. Unfortunately for Tahaji, he has dropped all the way back down to 9th place and 23 seconds behind Hedges, and his lap times aren't really impressive in this feature race. The last lap at 2 minute 5.4, so something drastic, something major happened in Tahaji's race there in 9th place. So unfortunately, he's going to be stuck in the background in 9th place, and we will have a lot of work to do come the feature race, which will be a very important 11 laps around this track. But leading on to the boot section for the final time, as we see any more battle packs coming through, we have Burton that lost a lot of ground to James, and actually Griffin's closed up a little bit, but Robinson's right behind him. He wants to make a move before the end of this Grand Prix. Robinson thinking about sending the nose in. He's not going to make that stick, and I feel like that's the only opportunity that he had left in this race, unless he really outbrakes the car to get on the inside of Griffin. But I think it's a little bit too late. As we go back up towards the front on the final corner onto the pit straight, it's going to be Dargan taking victory yet again, 2 in a row in the sprint race. But the question is, he needs to back it up in the feature race, so he'll need to do a big job in the feature race to get himself back-to-back victories. But it's a solid start for Dargan. Carter, a much better performance, unfortunately, compared to his last outing at Road Atlanta in 2nd place. James in 3rd, Purton nicely in 4th. Griffin holds off Koeman, actually. So Robinson had a huge mistake there on the last pit straight there. So we must have missed that. Jarman. But Koeman relegates Robinson to 7th, Hedges in 8th, and now finally Tahaji in 9th place. So something happened in the Robbo Sport car.
I'm not sure if something really went wrong there, but I think they bunched up a bit in the final 2 corners, and then Griffin just got a great run onto the final corner. Same with Koeman, and a bit of a drag race to the line, and Koeman got the nod over Robinson for 6th place there.
Absolutely. So Robinson a little bit under pressure coming from the front guys there in Griffin, Koeman, as well as Purton and James. So we usually see Robbo up towards the front in the qualifying, but unfortunately with his race pace, he does suffer a little bit of race pace inconsistencies with his driving. But with his qualifying, you could put Robinson in a car and he'll make that car qualify really well high up the grid. But unfortunately, he has a lot of work with his racing to do. He did a really good job at last time out at Road Atlanta, but unfortunately for the first sprint race here at Watkins Glen, a P7, and he won't be happy with that whatsoever. But one driver that will be happy will be Dargan, and it will actually be Carter as well. So Carter got a much better improvement this time out, and hopefully this time he might be able to try and challenge Dargan. He knows he's got the pace over Dargan. He just lost out a little bit on that last part of the last few laps of the sprint race. So that Carter has a good opportunity to challenge Dargan for the victory this evening. Wait for these cars to circulate around the track, which unfortunately is a brand new thing with GT7. Is unfortunately that you don't, when the last car crosses the start finish line, it just doesn't cut to the menu straight away. We have to sit around and watch the cars fly around. But obviously we can give a few little credits to the winners, and we can even look at some of the spectacular liveries that we have here as well. Jama, we could definitely say the Robbo Sport entry in the Robbo Sport car is always a great looking car, but even Tahaji's car is got the Alfa Romeo replica. It looks really nice for Victory Pace Racing. It's got a bit like brings back the old 2021 vibes of that Alfa Romeo that was driven by Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu.
Yeah, there's a few nice liveries out there. I know the Red Bull Junior is a very challenging car to sort of get a decent livery down pat with. I was nearly going to run through the field there, and we just got cut off. So
there you go, the one opportunity you had.
Yeah. But I mean, like the MSR cars, they certainly look nice, and same with Robbo Sports entries. Yeah, the WTC crew have even put some decent liveries together, and same with the ISA Esports. I mean, they've really done well with that one. I think that sort of suits the Red Bull Junior quite well.
100%. Absolutely. So everyone's done a really good job there. Even now, and then we see Liam joining us on the grid, the It's Racing Esports, going for a different color there, different color scheme for you guys in It's Racing for Liam. Was that a personal choice for you, or was that something that Liam, wanted to experiment in with the Red Bull Junior?
It was actually a personal choice. We sort of wanted to rotate some of our sponsors around on different cars in the second and third division, and so you'll probably notice that we've got a few different liveries that sort of match up with our sponsors' colours, and so each different sponsor gets featured. And with that one, we've sort of gone with the orange and the white and the black, so that matches up nicely with the Cartel Equipment Hire sponsorship.
100%. As we see Robinson, the host, on the series, at the other half of the series admins at Trackstars Racing Series, setting the grid up for the feature race. 11 laps around here at Watkins Glen. It's going to be an exciting race here. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot more closer racing for the guys, as even they've done their first sprint races, just trying to get used to the cars, get used to racing each other. But we saw some relatively clean racing in that one, and I'm actually very, very, very happy that these guys have done a really amazing job to get these cars where they are, as well as keeping it very clean. So I'll give them full credits to the guys in Formula 3 doing a very good job. But as we take a break here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having the grid set for the feature race. So join us in the next couple of minutes while we get the grid set and we bring you all the coverage of the feature race here for round 2 for the Trackstars Formula 3 US Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. So stick around, folks. We'll be back with you very shortly. And welcome back, viewers, to round 2 of the Trackstars Formula 3 Championship here at Watkins Glen for the US Grand Prix. We're back from a short interval while we have the grid set for the feature race. 11 laps around the 5.4 kilometre circuit of Watkins Glen. It's going to be a very exciting race here. 11 laps. Can Dargan finally get his feature race that would have been a gift for him at Road Atlanta? Unfortunately, he missed his braking markers and messed up in 10A and 10B at Road Atlanta, which gave Koeman the victory at Road Atlanta. So it's now Dargan's chance to finally get that victory. Or will Carter provide the upset? Or can even James from WTC Racing provide some sort of obstacle between the two drivers in front of him? We'll find out very shortly. It's going to be an exciting race, Jarman, and we can't wait to see what goes on in this one.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It should be really exciting.
For the last time here at round 2 for the Formula 3 Championship, what's turning out to be a spectacular season dominated by Dargan. 2 out of 3 victories. Can he make it 3 out of 4? As there's 5 red lights are about to go off, it is lights out. Green flag racing, so a brilliant jump there by Dargan in first place. We see Carter struggling a little bit and actually might be losing a position to his teammate in James, and Griffin right behind is going to make inroads on him as the two teammates behind Burton and Hedges have made contact with each other. As we see Koeman, the championship leader, will go round as well. We see as well Tahaji getting all sorts of in the battle wars here so far this time out of Watkins Glen. You see Tahaji in the thick of it all. 2 incidents of 2 races. He's ahead of Koeman, but the championship leader in 10th place, and he's down the back and well out of contention for this one, unless mistakes are happening. But we look back up to the front. Dargan has got himself in a good, comfortable lead, getting out of the bus stop section ahead of Carter, who's gone back ahead of his teammate in James. But then he's got Griffin behind in 4th, Robinson in 5th, Hedges up a couple of positions in 6th. The later Gator, as well as Tim, or as known as Tim Payne, in 7th place. Then we have Burton in 8th, and then we have Tahaji in 9th, and then we have Koeman in 10th place, making up a 10 driver grid. So Liam, actually not Payne, who I meant to say, I don't know why I said Payne, but Liam in 7th place there and holding on after not featuring in the sprint race, but doing a nice job in the feature race so far.
Yeah, I'm still laughing about that Payne mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. We all
it's
make
all
mistakes.
good. I think we're all learning the names here, so...
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about learning our names here at Trackstars. So we always have to try and figure out like what the names have. If drivers haven't set their nicknames, and it's always hard for us just to go back and see who they are. But it's all good. We'll get it all right come round 10, Jarman. So no, it's all good. But Dargan still leads the way, 0.9 clear of Carter, and Carter's got a good margin over James. But James is getting under pressure from Griffin, and Griffin makes the move. A very nice authoritative move there in turn 1, but he's gone a little bit slow on the exit there, and we have James coming right back onto the inside. So the two teammates are going to go side by side onto the back straight going into the bus stop, but James just ahead of Griffin, and Griffin's going to tuck behind in that slipstream. Robinson behind him, and Hedges not too far behind as we see Griffin and James going to go side by side through the bus stop. Who's going to blink, or will they go side by side? Looks like James is going to blink and is going to allow Griffin to take that bus stop. No problems at all. Griffin up into 3rd. James down to 4th. Is going to be capitalising on that slow entry and exit from James as well. And he'll be looking to get 4th place away from James from WTC Racing, as Hedges, Gator and Purton with a half-second penalty to his name. And then Koeman, the championship leader, in 9th place, who's definitely surrendering that lead to either Dargan or Carter at the end of this race. But so far, it's been some great calls and great racing between these guys. As we see 4th place, all under pressure here from Robinson, and as we see Hedges as well. So, a great battle pack for 4th place. This is allowing Griffin to pull away from these guys, and it's not over. James is all sorts under pressure from Robinson, and Hedges is looking for an outside move on Robinson. Can't make the move, but wow, the battle pack is down here, Jarman.
Yeah, it's a big battle pack there. 3 cars all fighting side by side. It was nearly 3 wide there coming out of that sweeping hairpin. Yeah, it was
it's a hot
we're
day
making mistakes here, I think, so yeah.
It's a hot day here.
Bit rusty from the off season, I'll say.
That's absolutely right. So we're getting ourselves back onto the foot and streaming and commentating and bringing the show for you guys. But as we see, Carter actually set the fastest lap on the last time out at 1 minute 47 compared to 1 minute 47.9 and a 47.8. So Carter putting the pace, trying to close the gap on Dargan in first place, but just losing a little bit of slipstream there to Dargan. And Dargan, as we know, is very strong through this bus stop here, and hopefully for him potentially keeps that same gap. It looks like there's a lot of drivers going wide there. Actually, Carter was faster around that time there. He's actually well faster. And they're gapping Griffin massively. So Griffin is losing a lot of time to the top two. So definitely Formula 3 is going to be, it could potentially be a very close championship between Dargan and Carter. But obviously you don't want to rule out guys like Griffin, James and Robinson in this championship.
Yeah, I'd say Dargan's probably your odds-on favourite for this one if we were playing with the Monopoly money. But I mean, at the end of the day, these tracks all suit different people. So you never know. You could have one driver perform extremely strongly at, say, Watkins Glen, and then the next time out struggle somewhere else. And yeah, I think throughout the season we might see a few people just sort of pick up and drop off depending on each track and what plays to their strengths and weaknesses.
We see Dargan just pulling out a much bigger gap now over Carter. So where it was 8 tenths going into the bus stop, it's now 1.3 second, and Dargan's going to come through with the fastest lap of 1 minute 47.4 compared to Carter's 148 flat. So Dargan's got the hammer down. We're only about 8 laps to go until the end of this Grand Prix. Dargan leads ahead of Carter. Griffin is sitting nicely in third place. Won't be able to challenge the top two unless a mistake happens. And like we say, you know, it's never over until the race is over. And just like we saw in the first round with Dargan, you know, anything can happen with our drivers this evening.
Yeah, we're certainly a long way away from the end of this race. And drivers, of course, have to remain consistent throughout the entire race with no mistakes. Otherwise, they're going to be punished for it in these shorter races. As Robinson just takes a bit of liberties there with the bus stop chicane, probably really trying to push the limits to gain that extra few tenths, and he's just picked up a track limits penalty there that he's going to have to serve in a couple of corners' time. So that's going to bring Hedges back into the equation if Hedges doesn't run into the wall in the process.
Oh, it looks like he's lost a lot of position, a lot of time there. So he was right behind him, less than a second behind, but he made a big mistake coming onto the exit of the going into the boot section, and Robinson is just able to hold on to that position. So what does that gap drop down to? About, less than, so that's about 6 tenths that Robinson lost. So more or less accurate, but Hedges was right there. But when Robinson got that half-second penalty, so a huge mistake on Hedges' end. He could have capitalised that and gotten P5. So very unfortunate for Hedges to not stay with Robinson once he got the penalty, because that's what you really try to do when you see a driver ahead. You want to stick to them as close as you can. And even if you're the driver and someone behind you, as we see Hedges going full drift. Incredible drift there by Hedges in 6th place. Now he's lost a lot of time to Robinson. But my goodness, that's a show.
Yeah, we're definitely glad we were on the onboard for that one. That was some great footage there.
That was fantastic, and that's a great showing by three drivers. It's not a powerful car, but hey, you can put on a show by drifting the car to a corner, and Hedges has done that very nicely. So well done. But he's got just over 2 seconds behind Robinson, and he's got a clear gap over Liam in 7th place. Purton is right behind in 8th, and he's coming under source of pressure from Koeman, who's picked himself up a half-second penalty, most likely on the entry into turn 1. And then we have Tahaji in 10th and last place after getting all tangled up and the first lap again. So that's 2 in a row for Tahaji. So not the debut that he wanted in Trackstars Formula 3, and being down 34 seconds behind the leader in Dargan.
Yeah, that first corner incident really cost him a lot of time. I think he even got reset before the first corner, so that sort of rubbed further salts into the wounds there and really put him behind the 8 ball. And of we've got Scully there looking to move into 8th, but picked up a penalty in the process, so that's going to halt his charge a little bit. But Purton there, looking for a run here on Liam. Gets down the inside, runs side by side, probably, or just a little bit runs out of room there, but I'd say pretty fair bump play on with that one. But
it's a little bit hard.
It's very laggy.
Yeah, it's very hard to judge what Purton's got on his end, whether he's seeing cars jumping all over the shop and he's trying to make moves safely, but then also you have drivers behind him or ahead of him trying to execute a move around him without getting any contact whatsoever. So unfortunately, last time out at Road Atlanta, I unfortunately picked up a time penalty at the end of the feature race, making contact with Tahaji going into 10A and 10B. And yeah, it was all, I think unfortunately for him, it was all about that lag, which cost him that position that he got at the position. I think he finished in P6 at the end of the race, but unfortunately, yeah, it just drops 15 seconds and drops down to P8 or P9 at the conclusion of the Road Atlanta of the US, of the first part of the US Grand Prix. So a little bit of troubles when you make passes with drivers on lag that have a lot of lag.
Yeah, it's definitely something very important, getting that network as stable as possible. You know, it's something I've tried to work on a bit. Haven't quite perfected it, but in some situations, yeah, I have been able to try and make the most of it. Really make sure that connection's wide up as well. It feels sort of spreading out a bit here. We've sort of got a few second gaps between each car. Dargan sort of got a couple of seconds over Carter, and then it's about 4 or 5 seconds further back to Griffin, so things are spreading out amongst the, I'll call it the first 3 cars. We've got James a little bit further back, sitting in 4th. He could mount a challenge towards the end, or maybe even see a mistake from Griffin to take that podium spot, but he's certainly still in contention for a top 3 there.
So I think the only closest battle pack we're seeing is between Purton and Koeman for 7th place there. So like you said, the field has been well spread out, and the drivers are just finding their rhythm. They're finding their groove, trying to learn the car, learn the track, find some quick lines through here. But everyone's basically doing the same thing. They're always gaining and losing time. And even there, Carter was ahead of Griffin by 4.8 seconds before going to turn 1. He's now eked out a gap to 5.5. So he's put a lot of time on Griffin, and he's actually gone purple in the first sector. He's closing up a little bit to Dargan. He gains a lot through the bus stop there compared to Dargan. I thought it was the other way around. Dargan was stronger going through the bus stop, but it actually turns out to be Carter this time out. So Carter may come in with a late charge with about 5 laps to go, 4.5 laps to go.
Purton's had a spin here, so he's dropped down to 9th again. He's coming under pressure there from Koeman and just looped it through that S section, heading up the hill.
Yes, unfortunately, I did catch that on the replay there, and unfortunately, yeah, you did catch a little bit of a slide there through the S's, like you caught that one out there. And unfortunately for Purton, he was sitting nicely at the end of the sprint race in P4, but the feature race for him is not going to plan, sitting in position 9, and with a half-second penalty, like I said, you lose about 0.6, 0.7 of a second, burning that half-second. So there's going to be a long recovery drive for Purton to get any closer to Liam in 8th place, and then we have Koeman, who capitalised on that in 7th place, but he's 7.8 behind Hedges. So the front field has actually been well spread out, but it's actually closing a lot here, Jarman. We look back up to the front. Dargan and Carter. So Carter's come through out of nowhere on a late assault charge. He's gone purple on the 7th lap here, at the end of the 7th lap, starting lap 8. And he's closed up to less than a second as we go on board with Carter. Let's see what he looks on board through this perspective on the challenging, making it a late charge towards Dargan. So Carter, he wants to get that victory. He knows he's got pace. He knows he can challenge Dargan, and he's closing. Whether it'll be enough through the bus stop, he's a lot stronger through the bus stop than Dargan, but Dargan has to throw everything with this car. And look at that, he just gains so much time over Dargan, and that's incredible pace. He lost a little bit lost a little bit of time on the exit, has Carter.
He's running wide there a bit through the call it the sweeper, but yeah, he's sort of dropped a few tenths there.
Losing a little bit of time, but he's not losing too much though, so he's still there. He's still on the slipstream, so now we have a battle. Now we finally have a battle pack that we wanted to see. The battle pack for the lead here. Dargan, all sorts of under pressure, just like he was. He wasn't under pressure at Road Atlanta, but unfortunately he made a mistake all on his own. But will he be able to withstand the pressure from the WTC racing driver in Carter in second place? It's all gonna come on. It's all gonna be sorted out at the end of lap 11. But can Carter get this done before the end of lap 11? Sitting in second place. 0.6 down on Dargan. Dargan runs wide. He's got onto the wall and he's lost the lead to Dargan. Lost the lead to Carter. I apologise. So Carter takes the lead off Dargan. Dargan again, all sorts of under pressure from being in the lead again. And Dargan has come through a little bit of a trend like this. Unfortunately, he's lost the lead and he's lost over a second to Carter. So this is huge.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Carter's really setting himself up well in that slipstream, but didn't even need it in the end as Dargan just runs a bit too wide, and it's quite easy to do in these cars. You sort of get yourself lulled into a false sense of security that you think you can put the throttle down a bit earlier than you think, and it just finds itself just drifting wide on the exit. You sort of pick up a bit of understeer as you accelerate out of the corner.
So Carter makes a massive move. Makes the massive move to take the lead of the US Grand Prix in the feature race here. So again, Dargan not able to get himself up towards the pointy end in the feature race in these two events, but it's never say never. It's only about 2.5 laps to go. Carter still leads the way, but a very fine margin between Dargan and Carter now. It's about 1.2, so Carter is starting to pull away a little bit more. He's eking a little bit more time out of Dargan. He's gaining a lot more time over Dargan, but Dargan has that never say quit attitude, and Dargan's going to be fighting back on these last couple of laps here. Dargan in second, and then we have a huge spread out amongst the field here with probably the next closest we have could be for third place between the teammates in Griffin and James in third and fourth, but the battle pack is on between Carter and Dargan in the next couple of laps here. So Carter takes the lead right at this exact moment, going through this corner right here where Dargan ran just wide and sacrificed that lead to Carter. He's down to P2, and Carter again, he's just pulling away. He's just gaining more and more time over Dargan. So what is going? So there must be something wrong with Dargan's car in these last couple of laps here.
Yeah, it's either possible that maybe the pressure of being in the lead of the race has gotten the Dargan a bit, or maybe Carter just feels a lot better on worn tyres closer to the end of the race. Maybe it's something that he sort of naturally just looks after the tyres a bit better, or works him in a way that can just bring that grip out towards the end of the race, and he's just unlocked that extra speed towards the end that he can push further up the field.
Yeah, and I'm looking through the telemetry as well. We can see here that Carter has actually got a little bit more tyre wear than Dargan. So he must, like you said, he's using that tyre wear as much as he can to really push that car and eke out as much performance as he can get. And it's almost hitting the fringes of 2 seconds, just like what Dargan did in the opening stages of the sprint race, and now Carter's doing at the latter stages of the feature race here this evening. We're on lap 10 of 11. Carter has taken the lead, and Dargan's made a huge mistake, and he's lost a lot of time now. He's losing a lot of time to Griffin as well. So Griffin has seen a mistake come from Dargan, and this is Dargan's race all but over unless Carter makes a huge mistake. Unless he picks up, I don't know, can you pick up a 3-second penalty around this track without making a pit entry or pit exit? I don't think so.
I think probably the only way you could do that is with the pit entry, pit exit. I don't see any way you'd do it with track limits penalties unless you ran extremely wide at turn 1 and just drove straight through the bus stop.
Absolutely, and he's losing more time to Griffin, so now the gap's gone down to 2.2 seconds. So something drastic is going on with car 174, the privateer in Dargan in second place. So something is wrong with that car. Something is not firing in obviously the car's not firing in all cylinders. He's struggling to get that car keep the car on the track. It's becoming very slippery for Dargan. He's going to open up an opportunity for Griffin. He's still there. He's just over 2 seconds behind Dargan, but he's seen a lot of mistakes come from the blue car, the blue privateer in second place. So Griffin's going to be wagging the finger and be like, mate, make more mistakes. I'm going to take that opportunity away from you. and he's going to try and take P2 and join his brother in Carter in second place, and even hopefully maybe as well even drag James into the fold and maybe make it a WTC racing podium. But I feel like now Carter's got a good enough gap to just keep ahead of Griffin. He's lost a lot of time to Carter. So Dargan just needs to keep the car clean, keep it safe, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens at the end of it. Griffin is closing. He's closing a lot here. So 1.5, 1.4. So it's definitely coming through the boot section here, Jumpers. I don't know about you. I've noticed a lot of trend here through the boot. Dargan is struggling, and he's struggling big. It's almost less than a second between the two.
Yeah, Griffin's really closing in here in the late stages, and I don't know if it's quite going to be enough to get past, as I think Dargan's just going to have enough pace to hold on as we approach these final few corners, as Carter enters back to the short layout of the Watkins Glen circuit after exiting the boot.
Oh, Dargan's made a huge mistake. I'll come back to you shortly as we're going to see Carter go through the start finish line, but Dargan has made a huge mistake. He's lost P2 to Griffin, and Griffin has come through to capitalise on position 2. Can James make any inroads? No, unfortunately, he gets himself a half-second penalty there, so he's frustrated that he couldn't get up onto the podium, but Dargan loses out on the final lap, position 2. And unfortunately, apologies for Carter to not get any camera time going through the start-finish straight, but that last lap incident between Dargan and Griffin, my goodness, Griffin out of nowhere takes P2 away from Dargan. James in 4th place. Robinson holds on to 5th, Hedges in 6th, and then unfortunately losing his championship lead will be Koeman in 7th place, and then we have Liam in 8th, and then Burton in 9th, and then Tahaji in 10th. But my goodness, gentlemen, what happened to Dargan in those last few laps?
Yeah, I didn't quite catch it myself actually, but yeah, a big mistake there from him from what you've explained. Really opened the door for Griffin to take 2nd place and nearly made it a podium lockout for WTC Racing, which would have been a great result for that team.
It just missed the turn-in point going into turn 9. He just missed his entry. He just ran the car too wide onto the marbles, and obviously he had a I think it was a 1.2 second gap over Griffin. So all he had to do was just drive the car smoothly and just try to keep it clean. But unfortunately for Griffin, fortunate for Griffin, he's seen a lot of mistakes come from Dargan. So the privateer driver struggling in the feature race yet again. That's the headlines again. So Dargan again loses the lead in a feature race. He's good with the sprints, but the feature races he needs to work on, because that's where the big points are.
Yeah, he's certainly going to have to pick up his game in the feature races. That's, as you said, where the points are. It'll be probably one of his focuses over the next couple of weeks. Of course, the F3 series will have a week off next weekend, so that'll give him a bit of time to go away and spend extra time, maybe pore over the data with his engineer and try and work out a way to extract that extra performance out of the car in the longer races.
Yeah, I definitely think there was definitely something wrong with that car, because it just didn't look like it was in that opening stint. Just some mistakes and maybe some sort of mechanical failures with parts of his car. Something wasn't running right, because he just lost a lot of time to Carter when he was ahead of Carter, and then as soon as he dropped behind him, he just lost more and more time, and that car was just getting slower. So something not right with that privateer entry. And obviously when you are a privateer, you don't get help from the big teams, unfortunately. You do it all on your own, and Dargan, as the small team that he is, as the team and owner of his car, really struggling to get this car working in the feature race.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, we can focus a lot on Dargan's fading away in the later stages of the race, but of course we've got to give mention to Carter, who ended up putting in a great performance there towards the end and ran away with the victory in the end.
Absolutely, he's done a brilliant job. Carter has for WTC Racing, and for him, he's definitely going to be winning the Trackstars Formula 3 Commentators Driver of the Day for WTC Racing. Carter for WTC Racing, putting on a show. He fell behind, just over 2 seconds behind Dargan in the opening stages, but a stellar comeback drive and some great pace in that car to come through, take the lead off Dargan after he made a big mistake, and then just run away with the victory and not look back at all. But it also could be a very honourable mention to the likes of Griffin as well. So even Griffin is probably a close second for driver of the day. But I think definitely Carter deserves that, and he's done a brilliant job to get that home and WTC Racing first victory here in Formula 3.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that Carter would be my pick for driver of the day as well, especially after the torrid time he had last time out at Road Atlantis. To see him bounce back like that, definitely a well-deserved victory for him. And yeah, as you said, Griffin, very much a close second in that. He put in some great performances as well tonight.
So that is it for the Formula 3 Championship. So please, we do encourage you to please stay around. In less than an hour's time, we're going to be bringing you the main attraction, the main event in the Formula Track Stars, the first round of the Formula Track Stars season. We will see the return of the number one in Dan Wood in the CP Motorsports SF19 Honda. He's going to try. He's only in for the fill-in round, unfortunately. So unless someone persuades him to stick around for a whole season, we're only going to see that number one car for the first round. But we'll wait and see what happens. But can anyone stop him? Can anyone take that number one away from CP Motorsports? Only time will tell in the next hour. But on behalf of myself and Nick Patasso and Jarman Dalitz, as well as the F3 boys, thank you so much for tuning in for round 2 of the Formula